Next up at UFC
More of a camo guy.
294,
Hot wax guy, huh?
we have Kamaru Usman taking on Khamzat Chimaev. As you know, Kamaru Usman stepping up on short notice after back-to-back losses to Leon Edwards, but he is 20-3 in his career. Only 3-2 in his last 5. Those 2 losses are Leon Edwards, but before that, a giant chunk and a very, very long reign as the welterweight champion, taking on Khamzat Chimaev, 12-0, undefeated, coming back after a year away. This is at middleweight. I don't know if we can make a huge deal over the size. I guess we'll see at weigh-ins, but Khamzat was a 70-pounder. Yes, he missed weight pretty dramatically, but he was also a 70-pounder. So, I don't know if he's going to be tremendous, if they're going to be about the same size. I guess we will find out come Friday, but the reality is this is an interesting matchup. I like this matchup more than the Paulo Costa matchup, honestly.
That's such a casual thing to say.
Why is that a casual thing to say?
I mean, this one is definitely probably a closer fight, but the Costa fight would have been much more exciting.
It might have been more exciting because Costa is always always in a fun fight, Costa. But I want to see how good Khamzat's wrestling actually is, and this is what we're going to find out, because Kamaru Usman is a very good wrestler. He's a very accomplished wrestler. He's a very good wrestler. Arguably top 2 welterweights of all time. I think he's number 2 after George St. Pierre. I think you have to say George St. Pierre is the best welterweight of all time. Kamaru Usman number 2. He's an accomplished wrestler. He has improved his striking. What does that make Leon? He's not even in the conversation yet. He won 2 fights against.
He's okay. Well, if you're the best and I beat you twice, guess what that fucking makes me?
Let's see. If Kamaru Usman beats Khamzat Chimaev, then wow, Leon Edwards is very good. If Kamaru Usman loses again and he's just old and slow, well then Leon got lucky in timing. That's all that is. Matt Hughes is probably the 3rd best welterweight of all time. GSP beat him because he was old and on the downside of his career. After Matt Hughes had beat GSP earlier in his career. So timing is everything. For you here. Can I let me get to the
No, we're going to go right here because you mentioned it. You want some MMA math? Let's have some fun here.
I heard your stupid
FYI,
math.
excuse me. Ryan Hall beat BJ Penn, who beat Matt Hughes, who beat GSP, who beat Bisping, who beat Anderson Silva, who beat Vitor Belfort, who almost beat John Jones. Therefore, MMA math, Ryan Hall would fucking smoke John Jones. Thank you very much.
The worst part about that is you didn't see any of those fights, and I've seen every single one of them.
Excuse me? I saw...
Which on that list did you see? You didn't see any of them. Not one.
I saw...
Thank you. Not one. You didn't even know MMA existed until another ginger showed up and started yelling.
No, we used
bullshit.
to go to Hooters on Saturday nights, and we would make fun of all the people that were there to watch UFC fights because they always had the bedazzled jeans and the fucking
Affliction?
shirts. Yeah, the Affliction shirts.
Oh, dude, I had a Rampage Jackson Affliction shirt, and it was awesome.
We would always talk to the waitresses like, "How about these fucking UFC nerds?" And they'd be like, "Oh my god, they're the worst tippers. They're the worst." I'd put the Riz on those fucking Hooters. You want to see maximum Riz? You put me inside of a Hooters? You put me inside of a Hooters? Oh my god!
I'm sure it's like Michael Scott with the ordering a chicken breast and acting like a complete loser.
I get them all of a sudden. I'm like, oh, she's like, I'm not even your waitress. You just have such good energy. You're so funny.
Okay. Anyway, I don't even know where the hell I was other than Kamaru Usman, phenomenal welterweight. Coming up in weight, stepping up on short notice. He's got wrestling. The striking has improved. He knocked out George Masvidal. We've seen the power. He handled Kobe Covington's wrestling. He's only been taken down officially one time. He's been taken down twice. Everybody knows it. Officially one time ever. That was Leon Edwards. I'd argue he was caught off guard, but it is what it is. He has 17 fights in the UFC with 59 takedowns and 6 title defenses. So he's one of the more accomplished people in this sport. He is stepping up on short notice. He is fighting Khamzat Chimaev. Chimaev is the dark horse of the division, right? He's an unknown. People don't necessarily know how good is he. Is it hype? Like, where are we in the arc of Khamzat Chimaev? Did he peak in COVID when he had those quick wins, those quick turnarounds? Or is he just legitimately that good? Because we have heard legends and stories of his work ethic, of how good he is, of how he's beating people up. Everybody on the planet wants to train with the guy. According to the stories and according to what we've seen, he's a phenomenal wrestler. Does have pretty good cardio. We saw him slow down a little bit in the Gilbert Burns fight, but phenomenal wrestler, decent striking, insanely tough, and just doesn't stop. He does have one-punch power. We've seen that. He's got big-time grappling. We've seen that. He's got wrestling. We've seen that. He's tough. He'll come forward. That Gilbert Burns fight, on one hand, you say, what a sloppy mess. How the hell did you end up in that stupid fight with Gilbert Burns? On the other hand, it's like he just didn't feel like wrestling. So that's the fight that he fought. And if he felt like wrestling, it would have been different. The reality is, I think he wins this fight. If this was a few years ago, though, and it was a full camp, I would have picked Kamaru Usman. Because when he was wrestling nonstop and coming forward and did have the striking and all those things, you know, a 32-year-old, 33-year-old Kamaru Usman was a very dangerous guy. At this age, after getting knocked out just 2 fights ago, getting dropped by Gilbert Burns before that, I think Khamzat Chimaev can come forward, win some of the striking exchanges. We're going to find out about the wrestling exchanges, and I do think short notice is going to matter. I obviously expect somebody like Kamaru Usman to pretty much be in shape most of the time, but keep in mind, he relies on his cardio. His cardio is his best asset. He relies on it, and it's not 100% going to be there. It is a 3-round fight that should benefit him, but there's no way he's going to be in the shape he needs to be in. He didn't have a fight on the books. He's stepping up, saw an opportunity, he's taking it, good for him. But I think Usman loses this fight. Minus 300 seems fair to me. I like Khamzat Chimaev to win. What do you think, Jakey boy?
So, if you don't know, I am a very vocal Usman hater. Can you confirm that, Angelo? I have been very vocal about how overrated Usman was. Leon Edwards was my lock of the week. 2 straight times versus Usman. We put $1,000 on Leon in the last matchup. We won that convincingly. So I am very biased against a guy like Kamaru Usman. I respect what he did as a champion and as a fighter, but just him, like, just his like whisper, all that stuff just drives me insane. So with that said, when this fight dropped, or the Costa fight dropped, I was bummed, right? I think that was going to be a more entertaining fight. And my immediate reaction was, oh, Usman coming up, old guy, slowing down. Chimaev's going to finish this fight in 3 minutes. It is what it is. You know, I appreciate him stepping up, but that's the way it is. Then I started really watching the film and starting really I almost had to kind of reteach myself and relearn how fucking good Kamaru Usman actually was when he was the champ. And honestly, in that last matchup versus Leon, that was much closer than I thought it was going to be.
I thought he won the fight.
Yeah, that was a very close fight. I was in pins and needles for that decision. He came through, made the adjustments, and he didn't even need to dominate the wrestling in that matchup to make that a close fight versus a very capable striker. Kamaru Usman is a much, much, much harder fight than Paulo Costa, even on short notice. I'm telling you that right now, because Paulo Costa was going to come in, act wild, be crazy. Chimaev was going to be able to capitalize on those mistakes. Usman is here to win. Usman is a very methodical fighter. Usman is going to be the better striker in this matchup. And if Chimaev cannot get the takedowns, and he struggled to get the takedowns versus Burns. That first takedown he tried to get, he got it. Burns got back to his feet, but he worked hard to get that takedown. Usman's a better wrestler than Burns. He's a bigger guy than Burns. Usman's going to be very strong at 185. If Chimaev cannot get the takedowns, and he starts fighting this fight like he fought against Gilbert Burns, he's going to lose. He's going to lose this matchup. I don't think that he can outstrike Usman. Maybe if this was 5 rounds, because of the short notice, he starts to come back alive. He's a capable striker, Chimaev is. Usman is the better striker. Go back and watch those Colby fights. Go back and watch the Gilbert fight. Go watch the Jorge fights. This guy has a very powerful, snappy jab. He has very good power in the pocket. We saw a 155 Gilbert Burns hurt Chimaev. Usman is the better striker, but I think Chimaev's going to be able to do enough. I know I've been talking up Usman. Chimaev is going to be my pick, but I am a little bit where I have in a parlay, right? I placed that immediately because I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely going to win this fight. I think that he's going to be relentless enough in at least the grappling attempts to be able to win a couple rounds, but I don't think this is going to be a walk in the park at all. And if he really struggles to get those takedowns, and he really is working hard to try to get those takedowns early, and he starts to fade, and this turns into just kind of that Gilbert Burns back and forth striking battle, Kamaru Usman could come in and fucking win this fight. So I have all the respect in the world for the abilities and capabilities that Usman is bringing into this fight. If it stays standing, I think he has a very, very good shot of winning this fight. I just feel like Chimaev is going to be a little bit too relentless with the grappling. I don't know if he's going to get the takedowns, but at least to be able to steal rounds and win this fight. So my pick is Chimaev, but I know a lot of people are like, oh, Chimaev's going to come in and smoke this guy. This is a fucking hard fight. This is a hard fight. And if this wasn't short notice, if this was a scheduled fight, I would imagine the odds would almost be a pick'em in my mind.
Maybe not a pick him, but it would be closer. I'm putting a lot into short notice. Somebody, like I said, somebody like Usman relies on cardio. Cardio is his biggest asset. And he's not. I don't think he's going to be out of shape, but it's just going to be different. And he may not trust his cardio. And if he doesn't trust his cardio, he's not going to push the pace. And if he's not pushing the pace, he's reacting. So I think Chimaev wins this fight. It sounds like you do too. I'm probably a little more confident than you, but the line has moved, but it like moves up a little bit, comes back down, moves up a little bit, comes back down.
I'll be honest with you. I'm not confident really at all. I think this is going to be a fucking sweat.
I was far more confident until you started running your mouth. But I just think that whole narrative of he's old, he's slow, his knees are broken, all that bullshit, all of a sudden it doesn't matter. He's young, he's fast, his knees are great. Like, come on. Come on.
Well, I don't think his knees, your knees are going to affect you more in training than fights. I don't think his knees hurt in a fight, but they're going to affect more your training, and he really didn't have really training for this fight. So I will say this is another one of those fights where if Chimaev does not win this first round, I think he's fucked. My
biggest fear, I'm not worried about the skills. I'm actually worried that Chimaev might be a mental midget. That's what worries me a little bit because people have been asking for a year. When's he fighting next? And Dana's like, hey, he's got some stuff going on. He's got to figure out. And it's like, oh, like what kind of stuff? So we'll see what happens. I'm very intrigued by this fight. I like this fight a lot.
I like it now. Like I said, I hated it. But now I'm like, I think this can be a really good fight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this fight. Last thing I'll address, you said this too, but so did this guy. Burns is a 155er, and he almost knocked out Khamzat. Go watch the Usman fight. He dropped Usman. Usman dropped.
No, he didn't Usman. He didn't really even go down. Usman did. He went to a hand and then got right back up.
He dropped him.
I mean, it's not like he fell backwards. Chimaev actually fell down. Usman just kind of went to a hand
and then bounced right back up. Not a care in the world.
And then Usman knocked out Gilbert Burns.
The next
with
round.
A jab. Boom.
Yes,
that jab is. I'm telling you, I don't think people really appreciate. And I didn't really appreciate until I went back and started watching fights. That dude's a very good. Not only is he a good striker, but the power that he possesses in the pocket, I think he's one of the more powerful strikers in the division, if not the most powerful in the pocket like that. I think he's gonna fucking catch Chimaev at one point. There's gonna be a point where it's gonna be like he's gonna catch him. Chimaev's gonna stumble. Usman's gonna smirk, and if you ever see in this fight Usman smirking, you better cash out all your fucking Chimaev bets.
We will see. $7,300 in DraftKings, probably a decent underdog play if you are as passionate as Jacob is. $8,900 in DraftKings for Chimaev. I probably will fade him in DraftKings because you're going to need a good amount of grappling, potentially a finish. I don't know if he'll get that. Usman is very, very tough. Obviously, we watched Leon Edwards knock him out, but that was a perfect head kick at the perfect time. I don't think we're going to see that again. But I do think Chimaev come out, work him. Usman could potentially slow down and fade a bit. I think Chimaev's wrestling is going to work a little better for him than Colby Covington's wrestling will. So I think he's going to win, but I'm not going to spend the $8,900 on him in DraftKings. If you do want to see all the bets that we have going on in this fight, as well as the line movement tracker and all the other tools, WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. It is only $10 a month.